At the breakfast we had this morning, I didn't know exactly what you were going to say, Eric, and I knew this time, and I still am caught up in it. To know your story and to hear you say those words, and now I'm in law school. I'm so proud of you. Dang it. My name is Dan, and I've been working with our families in rental housing for the last 9 years. And I want to start by asking a question that might seem odd, but I hope it will make sense for you. By a show of hands, how many of you in this room have a hero? We need some more heroes over here. And then just for my own curiosity, how many of you who identify your hero as Chad Schwitters? Your brothers did not raise their hands. Okay. I was looking. See what you. I think this is an important thing. A hero is defined as someone who's admired for courage or noble qualities. And I think it's an important thing to think about for a lot of reasons, but mostly because when we identify that person that we admire, that we want to be alike, it causes us to pay attention when we're near them. Those qualities that we want to emulate and take on ourselves, when we're around that person, whoever it may be, or persons, we learn to pay attention. And I think that part of the intent of this event is to share with you some of the heroes that walk through the doors of Urban Homeworks. Some of them have already spoken. Many of you, whether you know it or not, we want to emulate you. We want to be like you. We're encouraged by your sacrifice of your time, your money. We want to be like you. Each year for this event, I'm tasked with the challenge of representing a story from one of our families. And for the last 2 years, we've had those stories told by families themselves. 2 years ago was Angel, and last year was Shantina. And this year we do have a family, one of our family members who stood up and said, "I'll tell the story." And he's going to tell that story via video today for two reasons. Number one, this is a large group of people, and nerves, have a tendency of taking over. And then also he had a responsibility to his job this morning and wasn't able to be here. But I would like to have him stand now as he's here for our lunch and acknowledge him. Kenny Daniels. And I'd just like to share a little bit with you before we see that video. Kenny moved into housing with Urban Homeworks in October of 2000, 11 years ago, with his 2 girls, his son, and another boy that wasn't his son, but he raised like one. Kenny took responsibility for these kids, to feed them, to nurture them, to show them what it means to grow into a responsible adult. There have been challenges along the way, but Kenny has handled those with grace and determination. 2 years ago, Kenny moved onto a block with a significant gang presence focused around the area of Chicago and Franklin. Young men and women would spend their days in Peavy Park, and as the park would close at 10 o'clock, they would migrate onto the blocks and the porches and the streets and the sidewalks in and around Kenny's house. And Kenny made a decision to confront the danger that was there, to stand up to the violence and the drug activity, to take a stand. And he was not dissuaded by the danger that he was in, the threat to his personal property, the threat that was made to his life, or the reality that his own son was mixed up in some of that activity that he was trying to get off of his block. Even when his own son was killed in an accidental shooting, Kenny didn't back down. He decided that it was worth staying committed, if not for the sake of his son, for the sake of every son and every daughter and every family that lives on his block. So despite the grief that he felt in that moment, he continued to knock on doors and to invite people to stay committed to a process where they take back their block, in cooperation with the police and other agencies and entities that were at work at that time. Kenny is committed to family. Not only his own, but every family as represented on the block where he lives. And I began by asking you about a hero because if it's not already obvious, I want to tell you that Kenny's my hero. Kenny's the kind of father I want to be. He's the kind of neighbor I want to be. He's the kind of employee that I want to be. Thank you, Miss Jackson. I'm privileged to call Kenny my friend. And I'm privileged to share with you via this video this story that he brings to you today. Thank you.
My name is Kenny Daniels, and this is my story. I've been living here at 2110 Elliott a little bit over 2 years. I work at Contemporary Transportation. I drive a bus. I've raised a 17-year-old on my own, a 19-year-old on my own, 2 girls and 2 boys, and they're teenagers. My son Kenny, he's now deceased. Bless his heart, he's in a better place. He came here, he stayed here. I didn't mind. I wanted my son to be here. I wanted him to be up under me. What I didn't want him to do is to get involved with Chicago and Franklin, and which he did. When I was going around trying to tell him what not to do, it happened. And it happened as I was trying to get them to go to school and stay away from the guys that want you to, that's using you to go out there and sell their drugs so you can make them rich. When I first moved here, it was pretty much not safe to do anything outside of your home, especially after 10 o'clock at night. They closed PV Park down. This was their playground. Our front porch and our back, this all was their playground. A lot of gang banging going around, shooting, prostituting, drugs, you name it, it was on this block. I pretty much just got tired of it. My neighbor got tired of it, being cussed out, being threatened.
The summer before last, in 2010, late spring, early summer, that's when things really started to heat up.
Me and my neighbor, a year and a half ago, we came up with a plan.
Kenny and I started talking, and we started encouraging one another. And
we got involved with the people on the block across the street, down there, with the city leaders, with the city, the police department. He would call me and let me know. I said, John, just before you call them, you know, just one-on-one's time. You guys got to move around.
You see something, you know, call me, call the police.
Pretty much, some of them got the picture and some of them didn't. What was it, a month or so ago? I came home from work and this guy, and he's by the trash can, so I figured he's just cleaning out his car. He'll be gone in a few minutes. And I goes out there, and first thing, he wants to get rowdy with us. Then he goes and he gets a gun. I'm looking at the handle right here. Man, you done came in the wrong backyard. That's the way I looked at it. He let me walk away. Once I got in my back door, I got the old cell phone, and he was in a police car less than 5 minutes.
And then a few days after that, I'm talking to Kenny in the back lot, and he says, hey man, I just got this letter, and basically it's a threat to my life.
You know what I mean? I came up in that type of atmosphere in that generation, and I'm not scared of it. I just want you to just respect me and just leave. It's about reaching out and not being scared. The man John here, he said, Kenny, I don't know what to do around here.
This is new for me. I grew up in a small Midwestern town.
You know what? We're gonna do this together. Don't be scared. Don't let them run your family away. We're gonna do this. If you see him, just call me. And he started calling me, and I started calling the police, and I told him, I'll be there in a few minutes. John, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And we did it.
It's changed now. So now we walk around. We don't worry about what's happening outside.
Certain days I come home from work and see all this whole back parking lot full of kids. That's a good thing.
Community started coming in more to PV Park. Our church started having movies out in the park. And
we had to come together to really do something about it, to help not just me, myself, but also to help our kids. And it's a good feeling. I refuse to give up. There's still some other child or somebody else out there that needs some talking to change their life one way or another. You know, I took what I know and I want to use it in a good way. It's about coming together and reuniting with each other and make it safe for everybody.